Have you ever thought Japan, Korea, and China are pretty much the same? Same faces, same culture, same history? Think again. Behind the surface, these three countries are radically different in ways the West rarely notices, from language and religion, to dating, family, and even national pride. The contrasts are hidden in plain sight. In this video, we'll break down 10 mind-blowing cultural differences between Japanese, Korean, and Chinese people, some that even locals don't fully realize. You'll discover why they dress differently, think differently, and raise their kids differently, all while sharing the same part of the world. So if you've only scratched the surface of East Asia, get ready to see it in a way you've never seen before. Let's begin with where it all started. Their genetic origins. Section 1: Genetic origins, where it all began. Did you know? Japanese and Koreans are genetically closer to each other than to the Chinese, despite all three sharing ancient roots. Surprised? Thousands of years ago, East Asia wasn't three countries. It was a complex web of migrating tribes, river civilizations, and isolated island cultures. Around 3,600 years ago, scientists say a major divergence occurred. Populations that would become today's Chinese, Koreans, and Japanese began to take separate paths. The Han Chinese, China's largest ethnic group, mostly developed in the vast inland territories, with many subgroups forming across the north and south. Korea, sitting between China and Japan, remained more connected to the mainland. Its genetic makeup overlaps significantly with northeastern Chinese populations. But Japan, separated by sea, became something unique. The first settlers were the Jomon people, with roots possibly linked to ancient Siberia and Southeast Asia. Later, the Yayoi migrated from the Korean peninsula, bringing rice farming and metal tools. The result? A genetic mix found nowhere else. Today, genome studies show that modern Japanese, especially from the main islands, are closest to Koreans in DNA, but still distinct due to their Jomon ancestry. Chinese people, on the other hand, show much greater genetic diversity. That makes sense. China is massive, with dozens of ethnic groups and regional variations. Some people assume all East Asians are the same genetically, but it's not that simple. Just like how Europeans range from Swedes to Greeks, East Asians carry deep internal diversity too. And here's a question to think about. If genetics influence behavior even slightly, could that explain why these three cultures evolved so differently? Or is it purely culture, geography, and history that shaped their paths? What do you think? Section 2: Physical features, what we look like. Can you really tell a Japanese person from a Korean or Chinese just by looking at them? Most people think they can. But the truth is, it's not that easy. On the surface, people from Japan, Korea, and China often share similar features: dark hair, brown eyes, straight black eyebrows. But once you look closely, you'll notice small, regional differences, averages, not rules. For example, South Koreans today tend to be the tallest on average in East Asia. That's partly thanks to modern nutrition, especially after the 1980s. Japanese people, especially older generations, are slightly shorter, but younger Japanese are catching up quickly. Chinese people show the most variation. Northern Chinese are often taller and have stronger jawlines. Southern Chinese might have softer features and shorter stature. Skin tone also varies. People from northern regions like Hokkaido, Seoul, or Beijing often have fairer skin. Those from southern regions like Okinawa, Guangzhou, or Jeju may have more tanned skin. Still, all three cultures traditionally value pale skin. In ancient times, it symbolized nobility and staying indoors. There are also facial structure differences. Koreans are sometimes described as having higher cheekbones and wider jaws. Japanese faces are often narrower, with softer features. And Chinese facial shapes vary widely across provinces. But be careful, these are just general trends. There is massive overlap, and real people never fit a perfect mold. One more twist: South Korea is the global capital of cosmetic surgery. Double eyelid surgery, nose shaping, jaw contouring, it's big business. So even if someone looks typically Korean, they might not be naturally that way. Japan also has a strong beauty industry, but less surgical. It focuses more on skincare, makeup, and natural enhancement. China is catching up fast, with growing demand for cosmetic procedures in big cities. So, the next time someone says you can tell who's who just by the face, you might want to ask, are you sure? Section 3, Language structures how we speak. Most people assume Japanese, Korean, and Chinese are similar languages. But the truth is they're completely different in structure, sound, and logic. Let's start with Chinese. Chinese, especially Mandarin, is a tonal language. That means the pitch of your voice can change the meaning of a word. For example, one syllable like mak can mean mother, horse, hemp, or scold, just based on tone. Chinese grammar is quite simple. No verb conjugations, no plurals, no tenses. Word order and context do most of the work. Now compare that to Korean and Japanese. These languages are non-tonal and agglutinative. That means they build meaning by adding suffixes to verbs and nouns. Instead of changing the whole word, they just add endings. For example, the verb go in English is just one word. But in Korean or Japanese, it becomes a long phrase. The suffixes show things like politeness, tense, and mood. Here's another big difference: sentence order. Chinese, like English, follows subject-verb-object. I eat rice. But Korean and Japanese follow subject-object-verb. I rice eat. That sounds strange in English. But in those languages, it's totally normal. Another key point is rhythm. Chinese sounds choppy and sharp, with lots of single-syllable words. Korean and Japanese are smoother and more flowing, with longer, more consistent sentence patterns. You might also notice the use of politeness levels. Both Korean and Japanese have rich systems of honorifics. The way you speak depends on who you're talking to. Chinese has fewer of these layers. And while Korean and Japanese sound somewhat similar to outsiders, they're not mutually understandable. You can't understand one just by knowing the other. So what does this all mean? These three countries share geography and history, but their languages developed along very different paths. One uses tone, two use structure, one is sharp and direct, the others are layered and polite. Same region, completely different ways of speaking. Isn't that incredible? Section 4, Writing systems. What our words look like. You might think Japan, Korea, and China all write the same way using Chinese characters. But here's the truth: each country writes in a completely different system. Let's start with China. Chinese is written with characters called hanzi. Each character represents a meaning, not a sound. For example, one character can mean sun, another can mean tree. There are no letters like in English, just thousands of unique symbols. To be fluent, you need to memorize at least 3,000 to 4,000 characters. It's a visual language, packed with information in every symbol. Now let's move to Japan. Japanese writing is much more complex. It uses a mix of 3 scripts. First is kanji characters borrowed from Chinese, used for meaning. Second is hiragana flowing script used for grammar in native words. Third is katakana sharper script for foreign words and emphasis. A single sentence in Japanese can include all 3. It creates a unique rhythm on the page. Reading Japanese is like reading a coded puzzle. You need to understand what each type of script is doing. Now let's look at Korean. Korea once used Chinese characters too. But in the 15th century, something revolutionary happened. King Sejong created a new writing system, Hangul. Hangul is an alphabet, but not like English. The letters are grouped into blocks that form syllables. Each block looks like a small square, made of simple shapes. It's clean, logical, and easy to learn. In fact, many linguists call Hangul one of the most scientific scripts in the world. Today, South Korea uses Hangul almost entirely. Chinese characters appear only in rare or formal cases. So what's the difference overall? Chinese writing is dense, filled with characters, no spaces between words. Japanese writing is mixed three scripts blending meaning and sound. Korean writing is clean block letters, forming syllables with structure and clarity. And yet, each reflects its culture. Chinese characters show tradition and memory. Japanese writing shows layers of history and adaptation. Hangul shows innovation, simplicity, and accessibility. Isn't it fascinating that even the way people write reveals how they think? Section 5: Religion and Spirituality. What we believe. Do Japanese, Koreans, and Chinese believe in the same gods? Not even close. And in some cases they don't believe at all. Let's begin with China. China has a long tradition of mixed spiritual beliefs. Confucianism, Taoism, Buddhism, and folk religion all coexist. Confucianism teaches order, loyalty, and respect for elders. Taoism focuses on balance, nature, and letting go. Buddhism came from India and teaches rebirth and detachment. But here's the twist. Most Chinese people today don't call themselves religious. Fewer than 10% identify with a formal religion. Instead, they follow customs, go to temples on holidays, and make offerings to ancestors. Spirituality is often cultural, not personal. Now let's move to Japan. Japan blends two major traditions, Shinto and Buddhism. Shinto is Japan's native belief system. It worships spirits called kami, found in nature and ancestors. There's no founder, no scripture, no doctrine, just rituals, purification, and seasonal festivals. Buddhism arrived later and became deeply woven into Japanese life. Most Japanese don't choose one or the other. They visit Shinto shrines for New Year and Buddhist temples for funerals. It's often said born Shinto, die Buddhist. Like in China, many Japanese say they have no religion, but almost everyone follows the rituals. Religion in Japan is quiet, respectful, and part of daily life. Now let's talk about Korea. Korea's spiritual history is more dramatic. It includes shamanism, Buddhism, Confucianism, and in recent centuries, Christianity. Korean shamans once performed rituals to communicate with spirits. These traditions still survive in rural areas. Buddhism was dominant for centuries. But during the Joseon dynasty, Confucianism took over. Confucian values like filial piety and respect for elders still shape Korean society today. In modern South Korea, Christianity is huge. About 1/3 of the population identifies as Christian. Churches are everywhere, even in small towns. You'll find Sunday worship, prayer meetings, and even mega churches with thousands of members. South Korea is one of the few Asian countries where Christianity is a major religion. Meanwhile, North Korea is officially atheist and suppresses religion under a political ideology. So what does all this mean? China follows tradition. Japan blends rituals with nature. Korea embraces old beliefs and new ones. Three neighbors, three completely different spiritual paths. In the end, it's not about one God or one truth. It's about what each culture chooses to hold sacred. Section 6: Marriage and Dating. How we love. What does love look like in Japan, Korea, and China? Is it about the heart? Or the family? Or maybe both? Marriage used to be about survival, alliance, and status. Love came later, if at all. In old China, arranged marriages were common. Families chose partners based on class, connections, and birth dates. The bride often wore red for luck and was carried in a sedan chair. The ceremony involved honoring ancestors, not just celebrating romance. In Korea, it was similar. Matchmakers helped families find good matches. Marriage was a contract between clans. During the Joseon dynasty, rules even banned people with the same surname from marrying. It was all about maintaining family lines. Japan had its own form of arranged marriage, called miai, especially among samurai or noble families. But ordinary people had more freedom, though parental approval still mattered. In a traditional Shinto wedding, the bride wears white to show purity. The couple sips sake to seal the bond. All three cultures viewed marriage as more than just two people. It was two families, two histories, two legacies. But times have changed. Today, love-based marriage is the norm. People date, fall in love, and choose their own partners. Western-style weddings are now common: white dresses, vows, receptions. But traditional elements often remain. In China, couples may register legally, then hold a banquet with tea ceremonies for their parents. In Korea, weddings often take place in commercial halls, with both Western dresses and hanbok for traditional rituals. In Japan, couples might hold both a Western-style chapel wedding and a Shinto ceremony. Some even hire actors to play priests. Still, family remains deeply involved. Parents often pay part of the cost and attend the rituals. And after marriage, in China and Korea, it's still common for the wife to join the husband's family registry. In some cases, they live with or near his parents. In Japan, the couple must legally share the same surname, usually the husband's. And what about dating culture? Here's where it gets interesting. In China, there's pressure to marry before 30. Single women over 27 are sometimes called leftover women. In Korea and Japan, many young people delay marriage due to work stress, cost of living, or simply not wanting to settle down. So here's a question for you. Which culture's view on love and marriage feels most like your own? Do you believe love should come first? Or should family still play a role in your decision? Tell us what you think in the comments. Section 7: Traditional and Modern Fashion. What we wear. When you think of Asian fashion, what comes to mind? Kimonos, hanbok, streetwear from Seoul or Harajuku? Let's start with traditional clothing. In China, traditional dress is often called hanfu. It dates back thousands of years and varies by dynasty. Hanfu features long robes, wide sleeves, and a cross-collar design. Colors and embroidery once showed a person's social rank. Later, during the Qing dynasty, another style appeared, the qipao or cheongsam. It's a tight-fitting dress with a high collar, often worn by women. This became iconic in 20th century Shanghai. In Korea, the national dress is hanbok. For women, it's a short jacket tied above a full, high-waisted skirt. For men, it's wide pants and a long overcoat. Hanbok uses bright colors and soft curves, symbolizing grace and harmony. It's worn on special days like weddings, New Year, and first birthdays. In Japan, the classic garment is the kimono. A kimono is a T-shaped robe, wrapped left over right, tied with a wide sash called an obi. Kimonos are made of silk, with elegant patterns that reflect seasons, nature, and status. There are also lighter versions like yukata, worn in summer. Putting on a kimono requires knowledge, how to fold, tie, and layer each part. So what do these garments have in common? All three are flowing, wrap-style clothing. All three reflect values of modesty, tradition, and beauty. And now modern fashion. Japan has long been a trendsetter. From avant-garde designers to Harajuku street culture, it mixes elegance with rebellion. Styles like Lolita, Gyaru, and minimalist high fashion all emerged from Japan. Meanwhile, South Korea is now the fashion capital of Asia. Thanks to K-pop and K-dramas, Korean style spreads fast. It's clean, trendy, and detail-focused. Skincare and grooming are a big part of the image. Seoul is full of beauty shops, cafes, and boutiques. In China, fashion is booming. Young people embrace streetwear, luxury brands, and even traditional revival. Hanfu is making a comeback among youth, worn proudly at parks, festivals, or on social media. And here's a fun trend across all three. Couples fashion. Young couples in Tokyo, Seoul, and Shanghai often wear matching clothes. It's a cute way to show they're together. So, whether it's silk robes, designer suits, or matching hoodies, fashion is more than just clothes. It's a story, a symbol of history, pride, and personal identity. Section 8: Family and Hierarchy. How we relate. Who's the boss in an Asian family? The father, the mother, or the grandmother? In East Asia, family is not just important. It's the foundation of life. Let's start with Confucianism. This philosophy, born in ancient China, deeply shaped family values across the region. It teaches that elders should be respected, hierarchy should be followed, and harmony must be preserved. In Chinese families, age often equals authority. Grandparents are honored. Children are expected to obey. The eldest son may carry family responsibilities. And filial piety, respect toward parents, is a lifelong duty. Even today, you might hear grown adults say, "I can't go. My parents wouldn't allow it." Korean culture also reflects Confucian values. Age determines how you speak. Even among friends, someone older gets more formal language. There are special words, verb endings, and honorifics, all based on age and status. In the family, the father traditionally holds the most authority, but the mother often controls daily life. Korean families tend to be close-knit, and many children live with their parents into adulthood. In Japan, hierarchy is also strong, but it comes with a quiet tone. Respect is shown through behavior, like bowing, word choice, and listening more than speaking. Unlike in China or Korea, Japanese people may not openly mention age, but they still observe unspoken rules. In all three cultures, grandparents often live with the family. Multi-generational households are common, and when it comes to decisions, elders usually get the final word. But younger generations are changing the game. In big cities, many young people now live alone, challenge traditional roles, and seek more individual freedom. Still, family remains a powerful force. Even in modern workplaces, hierarchy works like a family system. The boss is like the father. The team follows seniority. Harmony, not conflict, is the goal. So here's something to think about. Do you see hierarchy as a burden or a source of peace? In the West, equality is often praised. In East Asia, respect and order are key. Neither is right or wrong. They're just different ways of relating. One through freedom, the other through respect. Section 9: Education and Discipline. How we learn. What's the secret behind Asian academic success? Is it natural talent or something much deeper? In East Asia, education is more than just school. It's a way of life, a measure of worth, a family duty. Let's start with China. For centuries, Chinese society has valued scholars. In ancient times, passing the imperial exam was the key to status. That pressure still exists today. Chinese students study long hours, often late into the night. Parents spend huge amounts on tutors and test prep. The National College Entrance Exam, called the Gaokao, is one of the most intense in the world. Your entire future may depend on one test. In Korea, it's similar, maybe even more extreme. South Korean students are known for studying from morning until midnight. After regular school, they go to private academies called hagwon. Parents invest heavily, sometimes sacrificing their own comfort. Test scores can affect everything: university, job, marriage. The pressure is so intense. The government has had to limit hagwon hours by law. Japan, while also competitive, takes a slightly different approach. Japanese schools focus on group harmony, manners, and discipline. Students clean classrooms. They serve lunch. Respect for rules is taught early. It's less about being the best and more about fitting in. Of course, Japan has its own entrance exams and cram schools, but the daily rhythm feels calmer compared to Korea or China. One key difference is how success is defined. In China and Korea, high test scores are everything. In Japan, effort and attitude often matter just as much. Another difference is how teachers are viewed. In China, teachers are respected as authorities. In Korea, they are both feared and admired. In Japan, they are treated like moral guides. Across all three countries, discipline is strict, but it's expressed in different ways. In China, results. In Korea, sacrifice. In Japan, self-control. So here's the big question. Does strict education make better students or just more pressure? That debate continues. But one thing is clear. In East Asia, education isn't just what you do. It's who you are. Section 10: Cultural Identity and Pride. What we think of ourselves. What do Japanese, Koreans, and Chinese really think of themselves? And how do they want the world to see them? Let's begin with China. China has long seen itself as the Middle Kingdom, a cultural center, a source of civilization. This pride stretches back thousands of years. to dynasties, inventions, philosophy, and empire. Even today, many Chinese feel a strong national pride, especially in science, tech, and global influence. But there's also a wound. The century of humiliation during colonial rule. That history fuels a desire to rise again, to prove China's strength to the world. Now Korea. Koreans often see themselves as survivors of invasions, division, and rapid transformation. They take pride in resilience, in building a modern nation out of hardship. South Korea rose from poverty to power in just a few decades. Today, K-pop, K-dramas, and Korean brands are global icons. This cultural wave brings both pride and pressure. There's a deep desire to be recognized, not just by neighbors, but by the entire world. And Japan. Japan often sees itself as unique, a culture of precision, harmony, and quiet strength. Many Japanese feel they're different, not only from the West, but from their Asian neighbors too. There's pride in craftsmanship, etiquette, and order, but also a hesitation to show off. Humility is deeply embedded in the culture. While China shouts, Korea strives, Japan often whispers. So how do these self-images affect behavior? China asserts, Korea expresses, Japan avoids conflict and focuses inward. Each has its own strength and its own blind spots. So here's the final question. Which of these identities speaks to you? Bold confidence, fierce passion, or quiet excellence? Let us know how you see yourself and what kind of pride your culture carries. So now you've heard 10 subtle but powerful differences between Japanese, Korean, and Chinese people. Not stereotypes, but lived experiences. Not better or worse, just different. Each culture holds its own wisdom, its own pain, and its own way of seeing the world. Maybe you saw your own habits in some of these stories. Maybe you realized something new about your neighbors. But most of all, we hope it made you think. Culture isn't just food, flags, or fashion. It's how we speak, how we love, how we stay silent. If any part of this video surprised you or made you reflect, leave a comment. We'd love to hear your perspective. And if you enjoyed this journey through culture, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone curious. Because the more we understand each other, the less we fear, and the more we can laugh, learn, and grow together.